Hello and welcome to Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley. Today I'm excited to welcome Naila Ansari Katillo, Africana Studies professor at Buffalo State University, choreographer and performing artist, and one of our favorite guests here on Group Chat, a reoccurring guest. We would like to welcome Samantha Kittinger, a learning and engagement specialist at Buffalo Toronto Public Media, and Lynn Bader, Vice President of Original Content Creation at Buffalo Toronto Public Media, Executive Producer of Group Chat, she's usually behind the scenes here, and host of Tapestry, a new weekly show on BTPM NPR. So we're excited to have Lynn on this side.
I'm getting used to this right now.
Excited. It only took 64 episodes. There we go.
Well,
I'm super invested in the topics.
Yes, there is a huge reason that you're here because Mother's Day is this Sunday. We've been talking about doing a parenting episode forever. So this time, in installment 1, we're going to focus on mothers. We know there's all different kinds of parents, parenting situations. We're going to talk about a lot of those today. And now we're just going to sit around, 3 moms, and just
4 moms.
Nice.
4 moms. 3 moms with me, 4 moms. You hear us all sigh?
Cheers,
like,
Mom.
Yes, cheers.
Cheers to the moms.
Yes.
Cheers, cheers.
There we go.
I am the mother of a 3-year-old, and today, if
Ugh.
you...
Felt that.
I know. We're going to be getting into some stuff. So this episode's for you if you're a mom, have a mom, know a mom, your neighbor's a mom, you know, you have a mom in your group chat, this show is for you.
Yeah.
Speaking of group chats, now, there might be people in this room that are in group chats with their kids.
Oh,
Oh, yes,
not yet.
I am.
I am.
I am.
So we
Totally
have
guilty.
2, and then probably Sam and I are in constant group chats about...
Yeah.
Oh,
Lots of
I'm in
chats
both,
with
actually.
fellows.
I'm in with and I'm in about.
yeah. So how does it feel to actually have your children in your group chat now?
You know, I really love it. I think that I was one of those parents that waited until they were ready to claw their eyes out because they didn't have cell phones. But once they got them and we started chatting with each other, I just realized it was another opportunity for communication.
Yeah.
You know, and I think like when they start to get older, right, Naila?
Yeah.
You know, you crave that communication because their world all of a sudden gets much more important than the world you had just at home.
Yeah,
To
I
them.
actually feel closer to them sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have 2 stepsons and I have a biological child, so it's like it's crazy, but they all stay very much connected. If, like a lot of emojis,
Yeah.
that pop through. They tell you like if they're like Noah, he will like send me an emoji from upstairs if he's like upset with something I do. He'll send me like a little angry face, or he'll send me like a smiley face, or like a heart, or and so it's like those weird like connections that you have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
The internet.
interesting to hear. Like, I feel like my son is 20 months old.
Okay.
Right? And we communicate with no words. So it continues
Yes,
on
yes,
into their
yes.
adulthood, right? Like,
Yes, it
they're just sending an
does.
emoji and you know what they're saying. And
You know what
my
they're
son doesn't have
feeling?
this
Yes.
ability of communicating without words yet.
Oh.
And it's good tracking too.
Well, and it's great for tracking. Like we do Life 360
Yep,
and it works until you're coming home late from work and they're texting you going, "Mom, you haven't even left yet." Like I get that all the time. But I think that it also, the text language that your kids use with you, we are a very, very sarcastic family. And so there are almost are no rules. So,
Yes. Yeah.
But Bentley, you've seen texts from my son. Yo, bruh, what's up? You know,
Bruh is so
can
real
you,
right now.
Yeah, can you Zell me for my train ticket home from college? Like, and we talk to each other that way.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like if my kid is willing to use that kind of language with me
Yeah.
and just be completely open
Yeah.
and sarcastic, I know we're really communicating.
Yeah. So, Lynn, the ages of your children
I have
are
twins.
Twins.
I have twins, and
Yes.
they are going to be 21
Oh, boy.
Oh
in
my
just
gosh.
a couple of weeks.
Twins, that's a
Oh.
different
Yes.
that's a
Yeah.
different ball game.
We'll talk about it later.
Yes.
Other segments to talk about my
Just so
twin
people
problems.
know what the ranges we're dealing with
Yes.
here. And then
I
Naila.
have 10, 9, and 7.
Whoa, you are in it.
Oh,
Yes. Yes.
dang.
The group chat comes in handy.
10, 9, and 7,
Yep,
all boys.
Yelling, cursing, all the things, all 3 at the same time.
Wow.
Everyone gets it. No, you're not downloading the app. All the things.
Yeah.
I've said this before with Naila. I know I will be coming to you for advice.
Yeah.
Boys are different.
Me too.
They're
Yeah.
different.
And so, Sam, 20 months.
20 months.
How'd
yeah.
that happen?
I know.
Were
He's
you
so
like
grown
pregnant
now.
yesterday?
That's what it feels. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've had this conversation before, but when you have a newborn, everyone is like, it goes by so fast. And in the moment, you're like, please, this is so hard. I'm so tired. Like, I don't believe you. And
It doesn't
it's true.
feel fast.
It flies by and it just keeps getting better and better. And it's true.
But you're right. In that moment, doesn't feel fast.
Yeah, you're like,
nothing
please,
feels fast.
Can you just like hold him while I take a shower? Or,
That
like,
feels
Can you bring
fast.
me dinner?
Your
Like,
sleep,
I know,
the
you're
amount
like,
of time you get to sleep feels really fast.
In the shower.
Can I take an actual shower,
Yeah.
like not just rinse off, you know?
Yes.
But then you feel, you know, especially being working parents, you
Yeah.
just you look at pictures and you're like, did I black out for those first 20 months or those first
Yeah.
2 years?
Yes.
What happened?
Yeah.
Truly, yeah.
But that's where the group chats come in for you, right? So,
Yeah.
I guess advice maybe, or just finding out if things are normal.
Leaning heavily on my group chats with my like seasoned mom friends is
Yeah.
like essential.
Yeah.
My girlfriends that are moms are like amazing in keeping it real when I ask questions. Like, and
Oh,
that's
good.
kind of what I need
Yeah.
is I want to stay in reality. And, you know, there was never any like, every moment is beautiful and you're going to love every second of it. I would ask questions and they would be like, it's hard.
Yeah.
You're not going to stop sweating. And it's like, you might not ever sleep normally again. Like, and I appreciated that. And it's been essential.
Yeah. Or somebody just to tell you that something's normal, even
Yes.
though, you know, you feel like everything is weird.
Wild. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
It's like
So-
a panic meter. Do I need to panic?
Yes.
No, you don't need to panic.
They keep you grounded
Yeah.
for sure.
And you didn't have those types of group chats when your kids were little.
So not really.
Yeah.
I think that for me, I'm the oldest of 5, but I have younger sisters who had kids before I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I would go to my younger sisters and say, is this a thing? Is this a thing?
Yeah.
But I also think that I think I was overwhelmed. Like I would go to the bookstore or even, you know, in the beginning days of Amazon when you could look at the billions of parenting books
Yes.
and
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
gosh, I don't know.
yeah.
You know, and I think it forces you to just sort of check your gut,
Yeah.
right? But you know, there's lots of different pieces of advice, and
Yeah.
we can get into those at some point. In
Yeah,
the
because
future.
you can read all the books.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't
Doesn't
matter. Every child
Then it
is
happens.
totally different.
I mean, if anything, they do help you feel like you're not alone
Yeah.
in some situations, but
Yep.
they aren't necessarily going to provide the perfect answer for your kid.
Right. Well, how does social media fall into all this? Because that's another added pressure. Everybody
Collective
just-
sigh.
collective sigh. Because I know there are some reels. I think I'm just serviced obvious things now where I'm like, oh yeah, I feel you. Like I get all the toddler reels of like the toddlers jumping off things and, you know, trying to fly. And I'm like, okay, I don't feel so bad that this
Yep.
is happening.
Yep.
But then you also have the other side of the perfect.
Yeah, I
mom,
can't.
the
Those are just
Instagram.
not believable
No.
at all. To
No.
me, it's like when they're like like matching outfits and like pearl necklaces with their tongue.
Yeah.
So we do take a lot of pictures of our kid. I mean, this is the age we're in, right? This
Yeah.
is the stage we're in. We have these at the ready, so we're constantly taking pictures. And I get equally frustrated. And I think in my earlier parenting days, when the kids were really little, I did feel a little like intimidated by the you know, it's greener on the other
Yeah.
side of that fence. And why do they have that? And why do they get to go to Disney, you know, like every other year? And why, you know, like there would be this sort of envy that was happening because I would turn around and look at the loads of laundry in my house and the stuff I hadn't gotten to.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, if we turned their camera around, it
Yeah.
might be the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'm getting pictures sent on the daycare app of my son in about 3 different pairs of pants each day. You know what I mean? I'm like, whose kids are all wearing all these nice clothes in these pictures? And, you know?
Bentley, what's it like to get pictures of your kid, like
Oh,
sort of
through
in the
the app?
daycare setting, so through the app?
The app is good. I know. So Sam and I started at the same daycare, and it was actually near to this building. And I remember my first day back here, I kept wanting to go there. I'm like, I could just pop in real quick, right? And his dad's like, no, you gotta let them do their thing, you know?
Yep.
So I think the pictures there do make you feel better. I know there's like the live cams and stuff, and I don't have that, but the pictures do make you feel like, okay, he's okay. You know, oh, he's sitting in a circle. What? Like, you know, stuff like that does make you feel a little better, I think.
100%. I don't think I need at this point. When I first dropped him off, I
Yeah.
did want like the live stream.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like in constant communication.
Yeah.
But at this point, I feel like a photo a day of him holding hands with his little friends and being
Yeah.
social and
Yeah.
eating his lunch. I'm like, he's good.
Yep.
You know, daycare has been like beneficial for all of us, really.
Yeah. It's hard, but the pictures and stuff do help, and then you feel like, okay, they're getting education, they're
Yes.
learning things.
They're making art. They're doing everything.
But they don't do that at home. It's always it's like, but then you're also happy. It's like, I'm glad you behave in public.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
It's like, as
think-
long as you don't do what you do at home in public, I'm okay.
Definitely.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, I feel sorry for those moms who do tune in and be like, "What are you doing?"
Oh, I know. Some days I'm like, wait, what
Quit
is he doing
biting
over
that
there? Like, yeah, because they don't post. They post the good pictures.
Well, they probably
And then you just see him off doing. I'm like, what? That looks like trouble over there.
Oh my gosh.
It's funny though. You say that, Naila, though, about your kids like behaving in a certain way at home, and then you just, how do you? You just send them
There's
into
like
the world.
usually like a whole gathering session before we go outside. I do not want to hear you acting up. I don't want to hear anything. No misbehaving. I better not get any reports.
Yes.
Have a good day at school.
Yes.
Like, and then even
100%.
the youngest one, every day I ask her, is this a thumbs up day or a thumbs down day?
Yeah.
And sometimes he's like in the middle. I'm like, yeah, okay. And he's like, I'm just joking. It's thumbs up. Like, so we have to have full conversations. The expectations are set before they get out.
Yeah.
The car.
See, good advice there. I'm gonna use that one.
No, and you should, because I think that teaching your kids how to behave in public and how to just be respectful
Right.
to other people and respectful to adults,
Yeah.
it really is important. And how to be kind to other kids.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, growing up, like you've got 3 boys, right? So they probably get on each other's nerves every
All
once in
day.
a while. I mean, twins, like,
Yes.
you know, they loved to hate each other.
Right.
And sometimes they hated to love each other. Like it was this back and forth, and yet I think at the end of the day, they always had each other's backs. But it would be, you know, we'd be on the way to school, and I would say, Elijah, you know you can never say what you just said to me right now in school. And he's like, yeah, Mom, I know. You know.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley, here with Naila Ansari Cotillo, Samantha Kittinger, and Lynn Bader. And yes, we are 4 moms together because Mother's Day is coming up. So we're just giving you the honest side of motherhood right now, covering all the bases. And yeah, I mean, social media and perception is a conversation
For sure.
that you have
Yeah.
to have now. And
For sure.
I guess on the younger side, I know one of the things is, do we post photos of our babies, of
Yeah.
our kids? And then the other side is the ages you're dealing with too, is how they're dealing with each other on social media.
Yeah.
So
Or your level of comfort to post anything of them
Yeah.
once they get to a certain age.
I was gonna say, for me, I'm not really a poster like that unless it's like more work.
Yeah.
So maybe if it's
Yeah.
like a birthday or something like
Yeah.
that. Just because it's hard because kids are so mean, especially as they get older. I mean, I think it's a little different when they're younger, but when they're older, the kids are on social media at like 8 years old.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's even earlier. Like they have cell phones super
Yeah.
early. So you just, like with us, we just monitor everything. So they don't really know too much about the social media thing. YouTube Kids and all that stuff, Netflix,
Right.
like they like all that.
Yeah.
But in terms of like posting and stuff like that, we're like, nope.
yeah, you have to. I'm scared.
Sam, do
To
you
post pictures.
Well, I'm
of your
scared to get to that age. Right
Yeah,
now,
same.
I'm yeah. The
you have
stories
total
I'm
control
okay.
of it right
Yeah,
now.
oh yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I'm a little reluctant sometimes, but it's part of your life.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing all the time. Stories I feel like I'm okay with because I know they go away and I don't, but yeah, I'm still a little nervous about it.
I struggle with it sometimes because my son is so young and like can't consent to me posting his face online, and I think that like all of my social media profiles are private, and I'm
Yeah.
very particular about, I know everyone that's following me, you know.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
no like random people out there, so I do feel safer to an extent. But if I take pictures of him with other children, I'm always asking my friends like, is this cool for a story?
Yep.
Like, do I have your permission?
yeah.
Like, I don't want to post other people's
Yeah.
kids without,
Yep.
the okay first.
Totally.
Wow. Well, Sam, I love when you post pictures of your kids. I'm telling you. I mean, you
I
may not do
appreciate
it
it.
often, but I do think it's like
It's his
great
account.
to see. It's great to see them
Thank
grow
you.
up, and your son as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
because it's about like here at Buffalo Toronto Public Media, we're so much of a family, so I enjoy seeing it.
And I think you need that break sometimes, because sometimes you just need that like pure happiness of something, you know, they
yes.
say,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
it's just, and that's the thing with kids, they are very honest and they're just very who they are. And sometimes you're around adults all day that just are not who they are.
right.
And you need that.
Yeah.
You can appreciate
They're very
that.
real.
Yeah.
But now there's so much stuff like my husband and I, we have like a family plan similar to like what Lynn says. Like you can see where everyone
Yep.
is, what they're doing. They can't download any apps without us. We can like shut down their screen time whenever we want. There's like a time at night they can't get on.
Yeah.
All those things. So when you get older, I think there's just different things because
Yeah.
they're going to be on at some point, right?
Yep.
It's just you just have to manage it,
Yeah.
Those were the good old days.
right?
Yeah, you'll
for
have
me.
to tell
I
us.
know, I know.
I don't
Yeah, help
have
us
those
when that
days
happens.
anymore.
Grown.
Are there any parenting, TikToks or things that you follow? Or
Parenting social media algorithms, you need to be on guard, practicing your media literacy skills every second of every day.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is the Wild West out there. And like when I first had my son, my Instagram algorithm immediately changed, right? And it was just like all newborn content. But it was a mix of like influencers that have no credentials telling me what I should and should not be doing.
yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's like I need to figure out what is factual information and what is
Right.
not. There's a lot of like mis and disinformation out there that is
Yep.
particularly targeting moms who
Yeah.
want to keep your child safe and want to do the best thing for them all of the time, right?
Yeah.
But then you have to sit there and be like, who is this? Where did this come from?
Right.
Is this actual research? Like,
Yeah.
what's
Right.
happening here? And like I said, when I first had my son, it was just such a bombardment of like absolutes. You should be doing this. You have to do this. You have to take him outside. You have to. And if you missed a second because you're a human being who,
Yeah.
like, again, I just had a baby 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
You feel guilty that you're not like
Yeah.
checking all these boxes. So I try to be very mindful too about like who I'm following on Instagram, what kind of parenting accounts I'm looking at, just so that I'm not getting,
Yeah.
lost out there.
Well, you're already paranoid. You're already
Yeah, for
thinking
sure.
that you don't know how
Especially
to
when
do
it's your
anything.
first one. When you have twins, you don't really have a choice. They're like 1 and 2 at the same time.
Well, it's funny because my parents came to visit me when the kids were, I don't know, maybe they were 6 weeks old, and they came for the weekend to help out. And my dad said to me at the end of the weekend, I thought having twins was going to feel twice as hard. And he said, it feels 3 times as hard.
I believe
Like,
that.
I don't even
Yes.
know how you're doing what you're doing. And it is interesting because when it comes to how I use social media, I think I was so overwhelmed with just the schedule of it all that I didn't have time to really, and there wasn't nearly as much out there
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it as there is now. But I think a piece of advice I would give is every day put your phone down and say, what kind of human am I trying to raise?
Right.
Yeah.
And whatever leads you to your next step, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of
Yeah.
human am I trying to raise?
Yeah.
The rest of you all can,
Sure.
I don't have
Yeah.
time for any or all of that.
Well, and it is. There are people that are saying they're speech therapists or they're this or that, and this is what your baby should be doing, and you shouldn't use this type of swing, or you should, you're
make
just,
your
right.
own-
Which is great.
Yeah,
That's why
great.
you
This
have a
or that.
pediatrician. And
Yeah.
you speak
Exactly,
pathologists in
exactly.
real life, and there's people that do this as an
Yeah.
expertise that are not on Instagram.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Your pediatrician basically tells you don't read any of it or look
Right,
at any
Yes,
of
it's
it.
like going on WebMD.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like-
Dr.
Yes,
Google,
yes,
yes.
Dr. Google.
Which,
Yeah.
when you have a baby, do not
Don't do
Google
it. Yeah.
anything.
No.
Oh
over
yeah.
your-
I can only imagine now on social media though, like how many things it's like you got to get this new stroller because
Yeah.
when I had Noah, we social media was out, but it wasn't enough to like
Yep.
make you feel like you have to do it. Like it wasn't like so much into the influencer
Right.
thing. Now I can't even imagine.
No.
Yeah.
what it's like.
And you're not asking for it. It's just like coming.
No.
These
Oh, I
things
gotta
are
get
just
this new
like.
bid. I gotta, like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. And then you go to do, somebody tells you you have to do a registry, and you're like, wait, what? Wait. And then you have 17 choices for everything.
Yeah, Bentley and I talked about this because the whole baby shower registry thing is off the hook, and I think I had a shower. I missed my shower because I actually went into premature labor the day before my shower. But
wow.
whatever. But what we realized is very quickly we learned the things that you do need 2 of and the things you don't need 2 of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
and I couldn't wait. You remember that time where all of a sudden you were like, the last high chair is leaving the house.
Yes.
And it is not coming back. Those things.
Yeah. I know it is nice to, well, I had a hard time letting go of things, but then when I could donate them and knew that somebody
Yeah.
made me
Yes.
feel better, but I would, there's still some things I'm have kept away, but now I'm
Yeah.
like, get these toys out of here.
The
You're in
toys
the next
are
phase.
that's the toys. That's
yeah.
the thing. We have to like do a spring clean.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
It's like you buy a toy, they use it twice.
Yep.
And then it's still there, and then you used to throw it away. They're like, but I was still using it. It's like, but you weren't
No.
though. Like you haven't used this in 12 months. We are
Yep.
giving it to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's all, and then their first birthday, you get all this stuff. And you're like, I don't need anything, and then you realize you actually do need toys for them.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to be that house that
You
has
do.
all the
No.
toys, and then you're like, yeah, okay, now I need all of this.
You do need toys, but what else do you need?
Yeah.
You need a gift certificate to a spa.
Yeah.
Right.
You need,
Food delivery.
you need someone to come and clean your house,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And
Just-
you need diapers all the time.
Right.
Constantly.
Constantly.
Well, that was one thing that I think in the whole everybody celebrating everything and doing parties for everything, that was one thing that they did do right, was the dad diaper parties.
Yeah.
Where it's basically like a
yeah.
bachelor party.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, whatever. You just want a bachelor party because your life's about to end. But but then you literally don't buy diapers for a year. And then
yeah.
when they grow out of
Yes.
them, you donate them or whatever. So that was I do appreciate
Yeah.
that party. The gender reveals and all that, I'm still like, okay, we don't need all that stuff, but I think that the diaper party is, if you do a gender reveal, that's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but
Yeah.
let's not burn anything
Yeah.
down. But yeah, I do have to say the social media stuff can be funny, and it can be like, okay, I don't feel alone because I know your kid's also being a maniac, but then you do get the like perfect parent persona of.
See, my algorithm is feeding me other moms who aren't perfect and
Yeah.
know it and just want to not feel
Like they're by themselves.
Yeah.
they're all
Yeah.
by themselves. I will watch those all day long because
Yeah.
it makes me feel like, yeah, I hear you, honey.
Well, we are going to get into advice because I feel like we need a length of time for advice. And there are phases of parenting. I know we've been all talking about phases, so there's definitely probably advice that everybody could give in this group. So we are going to talk more about phases of parenting, also why everybody ends up blaming moms for everything. And that's up next on Group Chat on BTPM NPR. Thanks for joining us again on Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley, and today I'm joined by Naila Ansari-Katillo, Africana Studies professor at Buffalo State University, choreographer and performing artist, Samantha Kittinger, who I refer to as Sam in the chat, learning and engagement specialist at Buffalo Toronto Public Media, and now she is on this side, normally behind the scenes, Lynn Bader, vice president of original content creation at Buffalo Toronto Public Media, executive producer of Group Chat, and host of Tapestry, a new weekly show on BTPM NPR. And in honor of Mother's Day, we are talking all things motherhood, the good, the bad, the ugly.
I was going to say you have to add mom to all of those.
Yeah.
Mom.
Mom and mom.
You're used to hearing that a lot, right? We've been talking about some of the phases of parenting that we've all experienced individually, and advice is a big thing because I know I was joking around that I am in the 3-year-old phase, but I know when I get to the 8-year-old phase, I'm gonna be like, Naila, what do I do? Sam, you're in the 1.5-year-old,
Yep.
and then twins over here with Lynn, almost 21. So
Yes.
phases of parenting. How would you, if you're giving advice based on phases?
Phases of parenting or like from my perspective?
Well, phases of parenting, between mother and child. So I guess it would be based on age or,
Okay.
how you felt
Yeah.
you reacted to different phases.
Yeah. I think when I found out I was going to have twins, I totally had no idea. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
What do you see?
Yeah. Yeah.
You sure?
2?
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time kind of afraid of that reality because I knew I was going to have to go back to work, and I thought, how am I going to handle that? The early days are, like you say, you forget a lot. I wish now that I could have been more present and be in that moment so I could have those memories a little bit more solid. But like I remember 2 a.m., you got both kids in your arm and you're just trying to stay awake enough so that you don't drop one of them in the middle of the night for a feeding, right?
Yeah.
Like you're just exhausted. So I don't have a lot of memories of that early time, and it's, you know, it's a little sad. Good thing is, neither do they. So
Yeah, true. Yes.
Does everybody black out during that first year? I mean, I feel
yeah.
like
Yeah.
I feel guilty,
Yeah, for sure.
like I wasn't
It's
present.
not really
but, okay.
there.
Yeah.
It's
It's survival.
Really.
It is
You know, like you're
survival.
really just, I think about that, like the first year of let's say first 9 months, right? I feel like it kind of got a little easier around 9 months. But I'm just like, was I there? Did I do that? Like, how did I make that happen? And you just do it.
Yeah.
You just do it, you know?
Right.
You're in
right.
survival mode.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not, and you know, this makes me feel even better because I'm not that far removed from it. And I'm
Right.
like, where did those 2 years go? Where did those?
It seems like it's a
years ago.
universal experience,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's still like, we're all great moms.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We were there. We
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah,
And
they
it was
did.
hard. And
They survived.
We didn't call it in. We did it, and we didn't call it in. Like that's
Right.
the thing
Yeah.
too. Is I think that you try really hard every single day.
Yeah.
And some days you go to bed feeling like I didn't do enough, and other days you feel like you have it more in control.
Yeah.
I remember parenting toddlers like 3 and 4 year olds, and talking to other twin parents and saying, you know, when do I see the light? Like, when
Yeah.
do I see the light at the end
Yeah.
of the tunnel? And they said 4 is the magic age because they can
Is
get.
it?
Yeah,
I've heard
Three is
this.
a mess.
twins.
It's
Three's a
not
mess.
two. Three is a mess.
awful.
It is.
But 4, they can get up into their car seat themselves. They
Yeah.
can try to put their own clothing on.
Can you
they
imagine?
Yeah, they want.
It's coming.
It's coming. They want to help
Look
with
at me.
everything.
I'm just looking at Naila. Like,
Just wait till they start picking up their own stuff, and you're like, please don't wear that. No, not today. I'm not doing that today.
But 4 was sort of like, I might get my life back.
But yeah.
Yeah.
They're a lot more independent.
Wow.
And then you feel comfortable if you have like family that wants to help. They
Yes.
can go out and, you know, they feel comfortable because they're potty trained and,
Yeah.
you know, we're pretty, not that accidents
Yeah.
don't happen, but they're usually not during the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting you said that about
Potty
letting
training.
potty training. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm in that hell right
You're
now.
in the middle
that
of
little
that.
quiet hell. Nobody's really prepared
That's
me for
right.
that, and then having their own opinion at 3. I'm like, what? What are you? You know, why are you arguing with me? But it's interesting you said like letting your family help. Like it is hard to let people. I know for me, it's hard to let people help, and you're just doing it. You're
It's the
just
first.
surviving.
It's always the first one.
Yeah.
After you have more than one,
Oh.
you're like, please, somebody come get them. Please. Oh, you want to go? Your nana wants to come get you? Yep. Out the door. But I think the first one is just you're so nervous about getting it right.
Yeah.
And I think you're just always just trying to make it. I don't say perfect, but you're just like, I don't want to be a burden on someone else,
Yeah.
or like I don't want them to think my child's misbehaving or they're not good or like complaining about them.
Yeah.
But that goes away quickly. I think I would say after maybe like the 9 months too,
Yeah.
you're like, you know what, I'm just too tired for this.
Yeah.
You open up, because I think as moms we don't always ask for help because we
Yeah.
don't want to be seen as a bad mom.
We
Yeah.
don't. We have this complex about us
Yeah.
that we're supposed to be able to do it all and
Right.
balance it all and keep it all together
Yep.
and not ever fall apart, you know? Someone gave me a really great piece of advice one time, Regina Tico. She used to actually work here as a freelance producer. She had older kids, and she said to me, Lynn, God gives you a break between the ages of 5 and 10. And it's because because you are completely exhausted. Right?
That's such a good way to put
you
it.
need-
Because
like, you
yes,
get
my
this
10-year-old now is on the
reprieve.
other side.
Right.
Yes.
Between 5 and 10, and it's God's way of saying, okay, rest up. Because 10 and above is coming.
It's true. Because 10 is
Awful.
that preteen for real.
Yeah.
Like they try to say it's like 13, it's not. 10 is when they start to get a little like they feel like they're a little grown and they can kind of press you and that they know they start to get into that I kind of know better than you or like I don't want to be around you, mom. Like that's but they're still like babies at night. It's like can you snuggle with me?
Yeah.
It's like that thing.
Yeah.
But you're right. That 5 to 10 is like okay, cool. But
glory.
like I can still manage. You listen to me when I tell you to do something.
Yeah.
10 is like, please give me strength to get to 21.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's hard. You don't want to wish the time away because it goes so fast. But the phases. Everybody says, and I know Lynn was talking about this. I feel like the advice you get is this is a phase. It's the next, and you're like looking at the next phase.
I actually found that helpful. I had a girlfriend tell me like everything is temporary. All of this. His 4-month sleep regression, it's temporary.
Temporary.
This amazing time where he wants you to rock him to sleep every single night, it's temporary. And I like try to remember that, right?
Yeah.
Because like it is fast. And it's I feel like every 4 weeks we're on to the next thing. And I'm like, oh, you don't need to like hold my hand down the stairs anymore? Like, what do you mean? You're only 20 months old. This is all going so fast.
Mama is still in that phase.
Right. Oh yeah. Grow up yet.
But it is true, and I think we can talk about it a little bit more. But I was married when the kids were. I got married when the kids were about 10, so they had a brand new stepmom, and she's a little bit older, and she never had children herself. And so things would happen at that 10, 11, 12-year-old age. And she would be like, well, you really need to talk to them about this. Or how come they always do X? Or I have told so-and-so, 18 times to unload the dishwasher, blah, 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 blah. And I at that point, like, so you're like, I don't let any of this stuff faze me.
Right.
And so I would just say to her, you're really not doing yourself any favors getting all upset because in 2 months, it's going to be something else.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's going to get done at some point.
It is going to get done.
Because you're not going, like, this works two ways. You cannot go to that party
Yes.
you asked me to go to until you do the dishes.
Yes.
That's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to waste my time arguing with you because you want to do something, I want you to do something. See how that works? Let's negotiate. Do what you need to do, and then I'll take you to the party.
Yep.
Well,
I'm taking notes.
Yeah, I think, please take notes. Because I think the other piece of advice that Naila, just give me a amen if you agree with this. But with my kids, they did grow up in sort of, they had all the little games, the little da-da-da-da-das, and we had like the Wii and they had the Nintendo, whatever. And I remember when they got tall enough, I said, Ellie, Elijah, this is a washing machine. This is the dryer. And if you can figure out this game on your little Nintendo, you can wash a load of laundry.
Yes, amen.
Right? And they constantly did their own, as soon as they were tall enough to like reach the bottom of the machine, they did their own laundry. And for school, I had them make their own lunches. Because I thought, the sooner you get these skills down, I can check that thing off my list.
This may sound crazy because, again, my son is only 20 months old, but he's very into the helper phase right now, right?
Yeah,
so I'm like, cool.
Yes.
This is how we put our clothes in the hamper. So at the end of the night, he puts his little clothes in the hamper before bath time.
Yeah.
He likes to help me unload the dishwasher. So it's like, I'm not assigning him chores yet, but he's getting an idea of like, this is how it works, right? And I am a single parent. So I feel like I'm doing him some favors too on like, this is what it takes to like live in a house and be a person and you know what I mean, take care of yourself. So
life.
He's helping me out.
And we're raising boys. I mean, that's
exactly
a big responsibility.
And you're also
right
raising
there.
them to be adults. I think sometimes as parents we want them to be children forever. Yes, they will be our children forever, but they're not babies.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
They
you want
will.
them to be good citizens in the world.
Yes.
There is a delicate balance between expecting them to do too much or take on too much or give them responsibilities that they really have no business having. And teaching them a life skill that is going to pay off.
And I think it's important to know each child that you have too, because they're all very different. So what you do with one kid, you can't do with the other. Like the sensitivity thing is very real. Like 2 of my kids are extremely sensitive, And then the 10-year-old, but it might be because he's 10 right now. Sometimes you're like, did you that? So you have no feelings about that at all? Like nothing at all. You got in trouble today, didn't feel nothing about it. Okay, so then you have to figure out other tactics that make them kind of sweat a little bit in terms of like consequences.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that you had the note about like that we're raising boys, right? So, like I said, I am not assigning him chores necessarily, but I'm capitalizing on him wanting to help and getting in the mix of it, and like just let me break some of that cycle that we see in our culture, right?
Yes.
Where like he's just
100%.
gonna know that like when the garbage is full, you take it out, and when the dishwasher is done, you empty it. Like just kind of planting those seeds now, I think is helpful.
Yeah, we're doing that too, and it does. It's fun. Things take a little longer, but and it's interesting. You were talking about the gadgets and stuff, and like he is wanting YouTube. It's a thing with he knows how to do everything, and I'm like, oh, maybe I can teach him how to do more helpful stuff. But that's an argument now because there's certain things that we let him watch, but now he thinks like he knows you can watch it all the time.
Right.
Yeah. Like there's no, they know that there's access to these things all the time. So you got to be like, no, you had your 20 minutes. And then you get the tantrum, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want you to cry, but no, I'm standing my ground.
Do you
It's so
stand
hard.
your ground?
No, I do.
Yeah.
I do. After the yes, I do. But I always have to distract him with something else. I'm like, yeah, but look at your animals.
Oh, but raising children is the art of distraction.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Distracting them
Yes.
to the next thing. Right? Sometimes you're like, okay,
Sometimes, yeah.
how do I... Because no isn't working, so
Right. Yes,
what
and-
else can I do?
Yes and no, right? Because like I just said that my son wants to help, right?
Yes.
He doesn't necessarily want to be distracted, but so I kind of I have a balance where I'm like, okay, you want to help me like scramble up these eggs, but you like can't yet, can't quite do it yet.
Yeah.
So here's a spatula to distract you for a couple minutes, but you're still like in the mix and helping. So
talking about what a great helper he is.
Yeah. But sometimes I think it takes a while to get into that like standing in your no.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it helps me when they get older.
Yeah.
Because it gets harder
It
as
is
you
so
get
hard.
older because you start to feel bad because then they can pull it on you too because they know you just as much as you know them. And so they're like, oh, she's not really going to hold me to that. And that's where you start to get into like kind of messy territory.
And that stuff just started happening, so and then it'll be, oh, I'll snuggle with you. Oh, can we watch Sesame Street? I'm like, you
They
know.
They know how to do it.
Yeah.
They like pile it on.
But it's okay to stand in the no.
Yeah.
They will not break.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
I say that only from having failed at it a million times. Because when you do stand in your no and you've made your decision, and sometimes you're even like, oh, that was kind of a harsh decision, or that was a rash decision. I really didn't think that one through.
Yeah.
But you said no.
Right.
You got to stay with the no.
Oh, yeah. I'm better.
And
I'm
every
getting
kid
better.
wants
Yeah.
discipline. As much as people, I think, try to play
100%.
the friend role, and that comes, right? Because I say, like, I'm close with friends like that. My kids will tell me any and everything more than I would like to know sometimes about their friendships and relationships and stuff like that at school.
Yeah.
But there is something in just allowing your kids to be who they are.
Yep.
But also saying, you know what, this is your boundary. You do not cross me.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
when you start to go, and I've had that experience with like having stepkids because they were used to doing because I always say the first training is home training. Everybody else out here is not meant to raise you. So
Yeah.
what happens in the home first is what you take out there. So they were coming doing whatever they wanted. And I waited because when you're a step parent, it's like that. It's a fine line. I waited a strong 24 hours. And then like the mama and the teacher and me came out. I was like, oh, we're not doing this. And I like wrapped them. And after that, no issues. It's not that you don't have issues with kids being kids, but like the discipline, when you set those boundaries, it gets a lot clearer for them what they can tolerate versus what they can't.
Oh yeah, and I think they know it even at an early age because when you hear a 3-year-old say "okay," I'm like, "Oh, it worked."
Right.
Don't make a face.
Then you
'cause
feel
they're
bad.
gonna
I'm
know.
like, I'm sorry, but not. No.
And there's a difference, I think, between your kid talking back to you because they're a kid and then being disrespectful. And I think that's a fine line, especially when they get older.
Yeah.
Because I've had to do that too. I'm like, you are just never talking to me that way.
Yeah.
So let's
We
just
don't-
start this over.
Yeah.
Be like, but then there's also a thing where they really get frustrated, which they will be at their parents for telling them, no, go ahead. If you want to curse me out in your room by yourself,
Yeah.
go for it. And then
Yep.
afterwards you can come out and eat and have dinner and moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, you're going to eat what I cook.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah, how does that work?
we're not making two separate meals
Yeah.
because you don't like the texture of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, I think you have to, for us it was, I work full time and for a while I was a single mom and you just don't have time to make two meals. You barely have time to make one meal. So you eat what I put in front of you.
We're just getting to that point with the youngest one because he's one of those like, I'm only going to eat cheese quesadillas. And I was like, excuse me?
So you're going to be awfully
So-
sketchy.
I mean, what?
That's on our approved list.
So I did start to like have
I'm
him
like,
help
yeah,
me
cheese quesadillas.
cook and then but I find things that he likes. Like we went, like he loves cornbread, so it was like they're Filipinos, so they, we went to like a black family Christmas this year, and he was like, oh, I love cornbread. I'm like, oh, thank God, it's something else besides it's still bread, but something else. And so like we're starting to just like start introducing him or having him help cook things with us because the other two are pretty good at trying different things. Yeah. But he's still stuck in that like I only want French fries, I only want this.
Start variety early.
Yes.
Well, we did that, and it was like all of a sudden one day anything green he didn't want anything to do with. But I have to say, Cookie and Gonger on Sesame Street, the best ever.
The best.
Because they cook
What are we
vegetables.
missing?
Oh my gosh.
We're past that to say.
They have
I'm
a
sending
food
you
truck.
clips. They have a foodie truck.
Really?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
And they
Cookie
cook
Monster and
all
Gonger.
different foods, and they go to like if they're out of usually Cookie Monster eats something that's one of the ingredients, so they have to go find it. So then they go to like the zucchini farm. So now if I have zucchini, I'm like Cookie and Gonger made that, and they say,
oh
yeah, listen, then Cookie and Gonger made that. Okay,
It's
and
a
then
great segment.
It really,
We're
I
talking
enjoy
about
it.
nutrition, like the cultural significance of
love
food.
it.
It's like it's
Oh,
great.
yeah. Where it comes from.
Yeah.
They'll make corn tortillas and then go and get the corn. Yeah. Oh, it's great. And then that's how you convince your toddler to eat things because Cookie and
There's a
Gonger
cute
made it.
song that you can sing with it, and it's perfect. Yeah.
Oh, I
Sending
love
it
that.
to you.
I wish I didn't have that.
That was made
we
by a
didn't
parent.
have that. I mean,
For
Sesame
sure.
Street had a lot of other really
But
cool things.
it wasn't the food
but
thing, though.
the food
Yeah.
thing had not caught on.
Yeah.
It was still a grocery
Yeah.
store thing. It was a lot of grocery
There
stores.
was a grocery store.
Yeah,
you went
yeah.
to Mr. Hooper.
Yes,
and you,
yes.
It's still there.
It's still
remember
there.
that.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Oh yeah.
But it is interesting how television, right, and certain shows are helping us raise our children.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's be real. Group Chat is a show that's produced by a public media station. My kids grew up on public media.
Yep.
But, I remember thinking that I just felt better about what I was putting them in front of.
Yes.
But it did teach me certain things like, I don't know if you guys remember the big comfy couch.
Oh my
I
God.
do.
Yeah,
Right?
she do like the
Yeah, with the clock, and she would do the 30-second tidy, or 10-second tidy.
Yes.
That's how my kids
Yeah.
cleaned up the
Yeah.
toy
Sure.
room.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and that
10-second tidy.
and I do think that like I said the 20 minutes of screen time or whatever. It's like you do have to give yourself a little bit of liberty when you have to go home and cook dinner, and you know what? So something safe I can put on Sesame Street or something like that when I don't want him, climbing up the stairs or something
right.
like that.
Yes.
So it's like you do have to give yourself a little bit of, leeway on some things just to be like, I just have to get through my day. So, but then, when he's crying later because I'm like, I feel bad cutting off Sesame Street because it's such a good program. But I'm also like, no, this one's done. You don't get another one,
Yes. It'll be on again tomorrow.
I think
Go.
with screen time, I had the same thing when I was pregnant. I'm like, I barely watch TV. My child won't watch TV.
Yep.
It's going to be fine. And that's just not realistic for me and my life. And my son is a digital native. Like he
Yes.
lives in a
Yeah.
world
Wow.
of screens,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I just always give the disclaimer too that I am not judging another mom in particular on what
No.
they're doing. So if you're doing more than, not you, but you
yeah.
are doing more than 20 minutes of screen time a day and it works for you,
Yeah.
that's okay. Some kids it's beneficial. It
Yes.
works. And
20 hours, maybe we'll have to have a
yeah,
conversation.
I don't know about that, but I just
but yes.
it just seems like in the grand scheme of things, like all of the worries that you have as a parent, like I'm just not gonna stress myself out to the max about a little bit of Sesame Street
Yeah.
while I make some macaroni and cheese.
I know.
Like, we're going to do it.
Yeah. And today it might be the box, you know? Right.
My niece is like currently thinks she's like Peppa Pig, like she's British.
Yeah, that's cute.
And so she was at like soccer, like football. She's like, I want to play football, and my brother, I guess, got her like a football or whatever.
Yeah.
She's like, that's not football. She's like talking about soccer.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and then
Yeah.
she like wants like
That's
tea and
cute.
crumpets. And it was just like, what is
What
happening?
has she been watching?
I love it.
Big.
I mean, the big issue in our house now is one of my friends, we were at a kid's birthday party, showed him Danny Go. Do you guys know anything about Danny Go?
No.
He does all he's a millionaire now, but he does all these like dance videos. But my problem, it's great. There's usually learning, but they're these really fast paced, like, and I don't want him watching these constant, like, fast paced.
Yeah.
They are pretty great, but then I swear he's addicted to them. So I have to say, no, you can watch one and not
Go.
another. Oh yeah.
Danny
Look
Go
up his
dance.
network.
I'm gonna have to look him up.
Listen, it's in
Wow.
front of a green screen. You're gonna be mad you didn't do it. But
I know, that's like Ryan, the kid that's like a multimillionaire now opening toys.
oh, don't
Just
get me
like,
started
why
with
didn't I
the
think
toy
of, like,
opening.
We're just opening toys and playing with toys, and now he has his own toys in like all these major stores.
Oh, are your kids in that phase? Like, what
They
age is that? Was, like,
grew up with Ryan.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, so it was like maybe a
Okay.
couple years ago. So they were just like, Mom, I gotta get this toy. Ryan had the toy.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Ryan.
Who is Ryan? And then I'm looking, it's like a
Yeah.
whole production of him opening toys that people
yeah.
are sending to him.
That's
and he's like
interesting.
playing with them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I remember my girlfriend's daughter, she's 9 now, but a couple years ago she was like very into watching other kids open toys or play with toys or
Yes,
play
that's
video
still a
games
thing.
on YouTube. And I'm like, wow, that's like such an interesting concept. But then like I love watching this girl on Instagram like unload her Trader Joe's groceries. Like I get it. Yeah, like watching this girl be like,
wow.
this is the fun stuff that I found today. I'm like, yeah, fascinating. I'm into it. So I think I get the psychology
I'm
behind
still trying to follow my boys
get
like
it.
watching other people play games.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
that's totally a thing.
2 kids that don't
Yes.
speak English. I think they're like
Play
Swedish
games.
or something.
Yes.
And I'm like, you don't even know what they're saying. But they're and like Noah wanted to have noodles because these kids were like eating
Yeah.
noodles and like playing
Yeah.
and like making things with noodles. And I was like, but when I tried to give you noodles, you told me no.
Oh, see, Ma.
It's-
That's the
it's-
thing.
no, it's a video game. All right. Well, we are going to dive more into pop culture around mothering and even the phrase mother is mothering. Somebody needs to explain this to me. And then we will talk more about advice and being working moms and the whole thing coming up in honor of Mother's Day next on Group Chat on BTPM NPR. Welcome back to Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley, here with my guests, Naila Ansari Katillo, Africana Studies professor at Buffalo State University, choreographer and performing artist, Samantha Kittinger, a learning and engagement specialist here at Buffalo Toronto Public Media, and Lynn Bader, vice president of original content creation at Buffalo Toronto Public Media, executive producer of Group Chat, and host of Tapestry, a new weekly show on BTPM NPR. We had to bring Lynn over on this side for the Mother's Day episode for the
100%.
mother, all things mothers this
Yes.
episode. So we've been talking a little bit about our experiences. What is the advice that you would give as a mother to another mother or a new mother based on your experience?
It's all a phase, and you're raising, hopefully, a contributing member of society who
Yeah.
wants to give back. Just keep that as your North Star, and you'll be okay.
Yeah. I would say let go of any idea of what you want your children to be for you.
Oh yeah,
I think it's
good.
Yeah, and I see that a lot, especially with college students that like I can't tell you how many students are like, well, my parents told me this is a major I should go into, and I was like, but you're not good at it.
Or
My
my
dad
dad
was
was
a
a
You don't like it.
or my dad was a
Yeah.
businessman, or you know,
Yep.
and it's not because they're not smart. It's just like they're just not interested in it, so it makes them like not do well.
Yeah.
And so I would say that it's like it's okay if your kid wants to be an artist, or if your kid wants to be something that you're totally not, or if you do have that kid that wants to go to Harvard and be president of the United States, who knows, whatever.
Yeah.
That's great, but don't put that expectation on them. And I
Yeah.
think that's hard because I think all of our ideas of like citizens and like the perfect kid. You know, I think it's hard for us to not have that, but
It's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure.
At an early age too.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you start
Yeah.
doing that pretty much like you want to make them, well-rounded and do all these things. And I think you start doing that pretty early.
Right.
But they are humans, and they're gonna go through phases, and they're gonna go through really hard times, right? So there's not one piece of advice. Like I think there's pieces of
Yeah.
advice
Yeah.
all along the way. But the piece of advice that I would give another mother is please, please, please understand that, parenting is probably the hardest job and most important job you're ever going to do, but is not all of who you are.
That's wonderful.
Are you
advice.
ready to hear that?
Yes.
Sam's like,
I am.
yeah.
Yes.
Good.
I think before
about
we
you?
get there, my piece of advice would just be to trust your gut.
Yeah.
Like, and the amount of times that I have listened to my instinct as a mom and ignored some like external chatter and been right or like on
Yeah.
the money, like I knew what my kid needed.
Yeah.
Trust your gut.
Yeah. No, that's great advice.
What about you,
That's
Bentley?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I need all the advice. I would say, be easy on yourself, but again, trust your gut, because I think that in a roundabout way, that's what I was going to say was, because you have everybody telling you things, you have all this social media influence, you have everything, but like in the end, that is your child, and you're probably going to know the best thing to do. But also listen to other moms, because
Right.
I mean, the funny thing is, we'll get talking about stuff on group chat completely unrelated to kids, and then we'll get off mic and Naila and I will be laughing about something, and she will make me feel better about something completely unrelated, but that happened with my kid who's like 5 years difference. You know what I mean?
And every kid's a hot mess.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's the other thing I think that maybe a piece of advice
Yeah.
is like, there's no perfect, even when they go out in public, it's like that embarrassment. I think sometimes parents have to let that embarrassment go. There's one thing that your kid is like really like the behavioral situation you really kind of have to manage. But there's other things where it's like, it's okay for your kid to not always be perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Outside.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I think it's okay. It's like, you know what? You want to have a temper tantrum right now? I'm gonna walk away and have you figure like I'm not embarrassed.
Yeah.
I think we have to like not be as mothers. I think
Try
we get
as you might.
embarrassed.
It did not work.
And I do think that we do have these inherent skills that we don't know where they come from. We do have, and and some people don't, but I do think there is something in there where we have this like fight in us that I think we need to trust sometimes.
Yeah.
So what do you think are some of the misconceptions about single moms or stay-at-home moms or working moms at different stages? What are some of the things that you think people could be better about when talking about moms? Or how they treat moms?
I can speak to the misconceptions on single mothers
Yeah.
a little bit.
Go for it.
A little bit. I feel like there is a common misconception that single mothers are single mothers because they have made bad choices. And the path to single motherhood is different for everyone. It's very individualized, right? Like
Right.
you could be a widow, you could get divorced, have a major breakup, choose to have a child independently without a partner. Like there's a lot of different reasons for that. And I would say that more often than not, the choice to be a single mom is a noble, admirable thing to do that was made in sacrifice to make sure that your child is the first priority.
Yeah.
So I
I
would
love how you
challenge
really-
I would
just got
challenge
chills.
everyone to think that like
that.
it's
Yes.
not because we are incapable of making good choices.
Yeah.
In fact, it's the opposite.
And I think that
It's,
goes hand
it's
in hand.
because we're constantly in a discovery of making the best choices.
Yep.
Sometimes.
yeah.
And I think too that goes along with co-parenting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times, we've been married later.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so we kind of know both worlds of single. And when you have other people that also parent, everyone is in an ecosystem together. So
Sure.
it doesn't help all the time when everyone wants to be right
Yes.
always.
Yeah.
And it puts the kids in an awkward situation. I know that's easier said than done, but allowing adult issues be adult issues, I think is something that I think needs to be reinforced collectively because it's a hard thing to do, and acknowledging that just as hard as it is for single mothers is also equally as hard for single dads.
Sure.
Yeah,
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was one of the, I think that's probably the thing that I dealt with that was the hardest was I'm a type A. I like to be in control. I like to be the decision maker. It's just part of my personality. And so giving anyone else those choices is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Right.
And
But your kids end up seeing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like therapy.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I gotta fix this.
Yeah. And I imagine boundaries must be tough.
Yeah, because each parent, I think, when you're separated, because when they're together, people just make it work because they're together, and then if some people don't want the responsibility, they're like, just throw it to the mom.
Yeah.
It is a little different when they're not there, and you have to recognize, it's like, you know what? You're over your dad's, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
You know, like this.
Yeah.
And I think that's really hard for moms, especially because with parenting, I actually think we take a lot of responsibility off of fathers. And because of that, like socially, we don't think that they're capable of taking care of them. Which in some cases, I'm not saying all of them can, all of them are great. But in other cases, it's like, okay, you also let them do their job.
Yeah.
Most of the fathers that I know are really just very invested in their children, love their children, want to be a part of kind of everything, and that's wonderful. I mean, as a woman who has a wife, we grew up with twins with 0 guys in the house, except for my son Elijah, who was like, whoa, I got a lot of estrogen in this house.
Yeah.
And yet I remember thinking to myself, again, I go back to you're raising a person. And so if you're a single parent or there isn't that stereotypical dad in the house all the time, it does not matter. I taught my kid how to throw a football.
Right.
I taught both my kids how to cut the grass. I taught both my kids how to change the tire. Like you do what you need to do, and whatever you can do to kind of get your mind out of, well, that is a father's job or a mother's job.
Yeah.
Right.
I highly advise you to do that.
I agree.
Well, I think too, even as as a working mom, I think you put all of
let's go there. Let's go there for a minute, because we are all working moms.
Yes.
You put those pressures on yourself. I think that you have to be doing all these things, and I still think that we need to be better about working moms, because I do think that it's perceived that if you are a working mom that you aren't, you don't have the focus, and I feel like moms are always trying to overcompensate at work.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like as soon as you become a mom, it's like, oh, well, you're going to be preoccupied, or you're not going to, you're going to be doing this. Well, yeah. And I think that getting rid of the perceptions is the big thing, because then you find yourself overworking to compensate for what you think you have to make up,
right.
And then you're struggling at home to find that balance, so I think there still is a lot of pressure around working moms.
I agree.
100%.
I agree, because there's not as much pressure. At least I think, and certainly please email in and tell me I'm wrong, that I'll even give you the email address. It's chat@btpm.org. That for dads, there's a different standard.
Right. Yeah.
Right? For dads, there's a different standard. I was going to go back to something that you said, and I almost lost my train of thought, but it was around the idea that if you do work a full-time job, there's also this misconception that you're not 100% committed to being a parent.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And that couldn't be further from the truth.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right?
So it's like you can't. There's both sides of it. There's okay. Well, you can't be a focused parent, but then also you must be you're not focused at work, or you're gonna have to leave early a lot, or you're gonna have to be home with a sick kid, or.
And there's sometimes where it's just like, and all of that is all.
Yeah.
that
And like you do.
Kids might have to pull up in here, sit down, put your iPad in,
Yep.
or vice versa, or my work has to come home.
Yep.
Today you have to understand.
Many a pledge drive, my children have sat in the corner
Right. I believe it. Yeah.
with their crayons and their color books, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, for the next 5 minutes, y'all got to be really quiet, because there's going to be a microphone open, and I need to be giving people the phone number.
Yeah.
So
But
please
I also
behave.
think it teaches them how to work and be in environments, and
Yes.
also be open, and to like they're with me at the theater.
Yes.
Like, they learned, okay, you got to
Yes.
be quiet now, and I think they learn how to be adults and humans, and I think they appreciate what you do, because they know that you're just
Yeah.
I feel like when kids don't see you working,
Yeah.
they don't know, they just think you're gone doing something, but when they actually see you, they're like,
Yeah.
oh,
I think kids also
That's
really
true.
secretly, I think they get a lot out of seeing us have aspiration.
Yes.
And
Yes.
have passion about something, and, and be able to experience our work ethic.
Yeah.
Right? Because everything that you do for a child, 9 times out of 10, it's done through example.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay,
It's
you're
done
making
through-
me feel better. See, this
Yeah,
is why
You
we
really
need.
should. Yeah.
These
No.
conversations are so important to have, right?
Yes.
Like, I feel like even just talking about the 4 of us being working moms, it's so easy to like internalize that like I'm not doing enough. Or
Mom
the
guilt.
mom
Right.
guilt is very real,
Yes.
right? When like it would be helpful if like childcare was a little bit more affordable. That
Yeah.
would make
Yeah.
this
Oh,
easier.
yes.
Like there are all
Yes.
of these like external factors,
Parental
right? Like
leave.
it's
Right.
not
Yes.
it's
Right.
not us.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
having these conversations to feel like you're part of a community and you have support is like very
Yes.
essential.
And having conversations with your kids too. Like I
Yeah.
tell them, like, I have to work today. Dad has to work. We have to do these things because this gets you this. If we don't work, you
Yep.
don't
Yeah.
get this.
Yep.
Right. And sometimes you have to explain to them
Yes.
what you're doing. It's like I'm not just out and about because I want to party. Like
Right,
I'm out
right,
because I have
right.
to be
Yes.
Yeah.
right now so I can afford a life that you
Even
have.
if secretly, as you're going down the driveway, you're like,
I'm saying always. People are like, "What's the best Mother's Day gift?" Nobody home.
Funny thing, that's what I was going to ask.
were you going to ask that next?
Yeah, I try to do when I get home from work. I try to say like, okay, from 5 to 7, I'm doing dinner, I'm doing bath time,
Right.
I'm focused on you. I don't have my phone, whatever. You know, sometimes things happen, and and then I'll get my workout later. I'll be okay. Now I'm gonna go to work because you went to bed. I'm gonna get my laptop out, but you try to do those things, but things happen. So it's like, yeah, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to sleep. But so yeah, ideal Mother's Day present, empty house, Naila. What else?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm fine with seeing the kids, but it's
Yeah.
like it's nice to just kind of be like, oh, you can take the kids out. There's no problem. Give me 5 minutes. I do think it's cute though when they want to do dinner and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I do appreciate that. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's like just to have quiet. But also 3 boys is a lot, so that's
Yes.
just a different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they all think they're Avengers.
Do you ever have a quiet house?
Nah, sometimes when they're with the other co-parents,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
And so I do appreciate that in that
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, for sure. What is your ideal Mother's Day present, Sam?
I just don't want to make a single decision.
Yeah.
That's a
I
good
make
one.
decisions from sun up till sundown, all the live long day. I just want
Yes.
someone just tell me like, this is what we're gonna do, and this is what we're gonna eat, and this is what time it's happening. Like that is like
Oh,
that is a
good
gift.
one. That's a good one.
Look at that.
That is a good one.
Oh, well, I mean, mine are almost 21, and I'm picking my daughter up from college this weekend, as a matter of fact, and so she will be home for Mother's Day. My son is at school in Rochester, and he, for whatever silly reason, has an exam on Mother's Day. I don't know what professor. Sorry, Naila.
Listen, not
Schedules
Sunday?
exam on a Sunday.
Done.
But he has an exam, so I won't see him, but I know that I will talk to them both. And that also does make me remember that I was always so eager for the next phase to happen because I needed that for them to gain their independence.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of moms out there like, oh, I miss this phase and I've got baby fever. I never had baby fever. But now, when they're almost 21, I just love being with them so much. And I want them to go off and see the world and do their thing.
Yeah.
So for me, I want to talk to them. I would love them to be with me and give me a hug. But I also would love them around so that they could do all the laundry and wash the clothes. And cook me an amazing meal.
I think when it's older,
that's what I want.
It's a different, like you want
It's a
them to
different
come
world.
home because you don't see them as much.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you actually have time
Yeah.
to miss them.
That's true. I'm
about
still a sucker for the homemade gifts.
Oh, yeah,
sure.
those are cute
Good.
though. When they're
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still have them. Like there's love you mom, like mom spelled wrong.
Oh,
or
yeah.
like
Yeah.
B, like they
Yeah.
spell like all
Yeah.
kinds of crazy stuff. I do still have that.
It's like a crayon scribbling. And I just want my significant other to remember that it's Mother's Day. So even if it's like flowers or something, I'm like, okay. But yeah, I'm a sucker for the homemade gifts right now. So I'm
Good.
I'm looking forward to that. And usually they get broken or whatever, but on the way carrying it. But
That's what daycare is great for. Though,
Yeah,
'cause they
oh,
will
yeah.
make sure you
Well,
have a Mother's Day gift.
yeah.
And so here's the thing.
Oh
Like,
yeah, Lynn has a story about this.
I have a little bit of a story about this, but I actually have 2 stories, and I know we're probably short on time, but the kids made me these Mother's Day gifts one year, and they were like these hand-painted little picture frames and thingies that I could put in my office. Last year, my kid comes to visit me, and he's like, where's my flower? He's like, oh, dude, that's gone. Like, I love
You better
man, but
find
that's
that.
Yeah.
gone. But I, as a family with 2 moms, kindergarten came around and the kids were making Mother's Day gifts, right? And so the teacher, who was just trying to manage the classroom, said, Ellie and Elijah, you each have a mom. Why don't each of you, you guys have 2 moms. Why don't you each pick a mom, and then you make a gift for this mom, and you make a gift for this mom. And Mother's Day comes. And I got one kid coming up to me crying because they had to choose and didn't
I was just thinking
get to make me a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, my partner at the time and I looked at each other and we're like, oh, we got to fix this.
Yeah.
Like, we got to fix this. And we went in and we talked to that teacher who still remains a very dear friend of mine. And she just was like mortified. She was just like, oh my God, I didn't even think. And
Yeah.
apologized profusely, and I think changed the way she did that project in her class.
Yeah.
But then when Father's Day came around, she was like, okay, Lynn, how do we handle this? Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I said, they have great father figures. Just
Yeah.
let them
pick.
choose.
Yeah.
And I do feel that conversations around family, like my son is learning about family right now in daycare, so they talk about they ask you who lives in your, my son keeps saying he's the firstborn. I'm like,
are you ready?
I'm like,
Is he right?
You are
Are you
one.
gonna say you got a second one?
You are an only child right now. And then he keeps talking about Blanche, which is our bulldog. So like they're like, okay, who lives in your house?
Blanche.
So
Blanche.
Right. They're like, yeah, that's our dog. So I do think the conversations around
Yes.
families.
Yes.
And listen, I gotta shout out Sesame Street again too,
Yeah.
because all different types of families, like that's just how it is. That's
That's real world.
That's the real world. That's what you're seeing.
yeah.
So
yeah.
that's-
Blended families.
Yeah.
and
Family-
it's never like
family
a
is
big
a-
to-do. It's just
No,
like
that's the
casually
family.
dropped in
Yes.
there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's perfect.
Family is a place where love exists.
Yes.
Where you are cherished, you are taken care of, and you are loved by everybody in the home.
Yep.
Yep.
Like, that's a family.
Yes.
And we promise you, dads, we will have
Yes. If
Father's-
any dads want to come on the
come on
Father's
the
Day
Father's
show,
Day show. We will step aside and
Yes, because they say that that's a big
100%.
complaint that dads say they don't get celebrated as much as moms do.
I know.
yeah,
so
we should get a guest host in for the Father's Day episode.
Yeah.
How would you feel about that? Like a
I
dad.
would be fine with that.
That would be
I don't know.
super
As a
cool.
mom, am I okay with letting go of control?
I don't know, Bentley. You can handle it.
I might need Naila's backup in here with all the dads. Well, thank you for joining us. This has been a great episode of Group Chat. We all know how we want to be spending Mother's Day coming up on Sunday, but if you have a special person in your life, a mother figure, make sure you at least reach out to them either now or this weekend. Thanks for joining us. And if you appreciate this programming, protect my public media. If you love public media, help protect it. We've been talking about it, but these are the conversations that you get in public media. So protectmypublicmedia.org to learn more and take action. I'd like to thank my guests, Naila Ansari-Cotillo, Samantha Kittinger, and Lynn Bader. I'm your host, Bentley. Have a great weekend, and thanks for listening.